Hello, welcome back to day 2 of distance learning for 7th grade music. We're going to want to go to our stream of our classroom and scroll down to our weekly calendar here and see what we're doing today. So today is Tuesday the 31st, and we're going to watch this video with your Intro to Music Notation handout. Hopefully it's printed. If not, it's okay. I'm going to show you on the screen. And then we'll also be working with our blank rhythm paper from yesterday. So we're going to start there. And you can see both of these on the stream of your classroom, blank rhythm paper, Intro to Music Notation. When we pull up that blank rhythm paper in another tab, if you like, it's going to look like this. And what I've done is I've selected 3 to 4 of these and brought them into software that I can use to edit them. So here we're going to work with a couple of 2-measure exercises of only rhythms. And yes, it looks a little silly and a little sloppy, but I'm going to be drawing some notes with you. If we are working in 2 measures, this entire line is going to be divided in half. And what we'll need to do that is a bar line. So I'm going to go ahead and draw that bar line down the center. And now we have measure 1 and measure 2. And I'm going to pretend like we are notating something for the first time. And this is going to contain, let's use quarter notes filled in, and maybe we can also have a half note in here. So if your rhythm was something that you're listening to and you were notating this, let's pretend the rhythm was 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So our rhythms below, well, that's huge. Our rhythms below would be beat 1, beat 2, beat 3, and no beat 4 would be spoken, which tells us that there's not a quarter note there. Same exact thing for measure 2. And I'm going to leave it without showing you 4. What we would often do for when we are working with similar rhythms is we'll draw an arrow to show that the sound is continuous, but I want to show you what notes these are. Beat 1 is just normal, so we'll have our quarter note filled in there. Beat 2 is just normal. There's one sound happening on that beat, also a quarter note. And now the long 3, which got 2 taps of the hand, it tells us that there is a half note taking up half of the measure. Those same rhythms are creating measure 2. They are identical. Measures 1 and 2 are exactly the same. And when you write your half note as you notate, you may want to draw an arrow to show that the voice has carried through beats 3 and 4. So we're going to perform this together. 1, 2, ready, and speak. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So we have our quarter notes and our half notes. But what happens if there's only one sound that fills up the whole measure? I'm going to go ahead and show you that down here. If you have a whole note, let's put it in measure 2. That whole note is the only thing that happens in the whole measure. It takes up all of the time. So let's go ahead and imagine that measure 1 is completely only quarter notes. 1, 2, 3, and 4. We have our bar line showing that measure 1 has ended. And now we're going to fill in measure 2 with a whole note. It looks empty and hollow, and there's no tall stem, so it's just a circle. We have a lot of different of our music vocabulary on this page already, so let's go ahead and label our quarter notes. I'm going to label our half note up here. In the very center of both of these, we have a bar line. That bar line ends a measure. And then way over here on the side, To end our song, we have some double bar lines. Let me go ahead and select this guy. Our double bar line says that this entire composition is over. So it is the last bar line to appear in music. Single bar line, the measure is over. Double bar line, the whole song is over. Because we're working with rhythms, we are seeing our rhythm clef. That means this song is not going to go up or down. Every single time you have your rhythm clef, you're going to be working on a one line that goes across your paper. So a sound could be percussive, like a snap. 1, 2, 3. Or it could be percussive, like a slap or a clap. It could be something that you could play on drums, but it's rhythms only. There's no melody and there's no tune. It has nowhere to go. That rhythm clef looks a lot like a square or a rectangle. So let's jump into your handout for today. It's in the stream, Intro to Melodic Notation, to Music Notation, rather. Now we have our music notation guidelines. If we're notating measures of rhythms, use a rhythm clef. We just saw that. Here is your rhythm clef. It's not the numbers, it's the rectangle next to them. And it will be the very first thing that happens on your page. That's why our rhythm paper has them on the far left-hand side. If we're notating measures of melody, we will start with the treble clef on the 5-line staff. For now, we will always start on this pitch, and that's going to be true for about the next month or so. Of course, we have other options, but this is the most simple way to jump into music and music notation. And so we're going to leave this as our starting pitch for quite a long time. Why do they both have 2 4s? What symbol is this? This is one example of a time signature. Time signature being one of our vocabulary words for today. For now, we will be working with measures that contain 4 beats each. That's actually what the top number 4 signifies. And the bottom 4 is telling us that we're working with quarter notes. Let me go ahead and pull back here. Our time signature of 4/4, I just have enough room to show you this. The top number tells us that there are 4 beats per measure. 1, 2, 3, 4. That measure is done. That measure is good to go. And when we look at our lower number 4, if you view it like mathematically a denominator for a split second, it tells you 1/4 or 1/4. It's actually telling you that it's our quarter note that we're counting 4 of. Of course, both of these numbers can change, but we're staying in 4/4 for the majority of this quarter. Once we notate 4 beats, we will need to create another measure. Measures are divided by bar lines. A double bar line almost always means that the song has ended. So our time signature of 4 beats of quarter notes. 1, 2, 3, 4. Bar line in the middle. Measure 2. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So what kinds of musical activity can fill up these beats? We start out with something happening on each beat. This creates 4 music notes. Each one takes up a quarter of the measure. 1, 2, 3, 4. On the left-hand side, we have a melody. This would be pitched. We could sing this. 1, 2, 3, 4. And it has our treble clef telling us it's a song, it has a tune. Over here on the right-hand side, we only have our rhythm clef. So we could say 1, 2, 3, 4. But the rhythms are the same for these 2 measures. What if you hear something besides 4 quarter notes? There are music notes that take up different amounts of time, and you could say that these have a different duration. They're not as long as a quarter note. We've seen a whole note today. A whole note equals 4 beats. It takes up the whole measure. It looks like a hollow circle. A half note is 2 beats. It only takes up half of the measure. We've seen those yesterday and today. A quarter note is 1 beat. It takes up a quarter of the measure. And then finally, these are eighth note pairs. An eighth note is half of one beat. We're going to see them together for most of the time. And so one eighth note pair contains both of these eighth notes. And the eighth note pair will be the same length of time as a quarter note. We will start to rhythm read by speaking the number of the beat on which each note happens. Here you see 4 measures. It is very important to keep the steady beat while you rhythm read, so we'll need our hands. Let's take a slow speed or a slow tempo, and I'll count you in. Let's try it. 1, 2, ready, and 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1. With that whole note, we want to have all 4 beats there. And it feels very strange to go 1. That's one way of making it painfully obvious that it's a very long note. If you want to just go 1, you completely can. So I'm going to go ahead and show you that we've reviewed all of the vocabulary words on your weekly list. Tuesday's new vocabulary, pitched versus unpitched music, rhythms being unpitched, melodies being pitched using the treble clef, bar lines and double bar lines, the rhythm clef, the time signature, quarter notes, half notes, and whole notes. All of these can be found on your vocabulary card number 1. And again, keep in mind that if this were a double-sided piece of paper, the vocabulary word would be directly opposite its definition when you print it, so that you could cut them out and use them as flashcards. So here we have the concept of pitch, the perception of sounds as high or low according to the frequency. So this includes the sound waves, and it's very scientific and specific, and we hear them as pitches. Those create melodies. Right now we're just working with rhythms, the pattern of stressed and unstressed beats in music. And when something is only rhythmic and it's not pitched, da-da-da-da-da, it's just something we would speak, we would call that unpitched. Having indeterminate pitch, unable to be identified by the musical alphabet. So when you're playing a drum, you can't go over to a piano keyboard and find the note that that drum is hitting. That means that it is unpitched. That's just like when we speak things out loud. We have our rhythm clef here. It is shown on a 5-line staff, but we will see it on just 1 line to draw those rhythms across. Rhythms that don't go up and don't go down. That's where we see our rhythm clef. It's going to be followed by our time signature. Right now we're working in 4/4 time. Our time signature identifies the chosen meter using numbers, and it's located after the clef. Treble clef is here for the future. After a measure is ended and completely full of 4 beats, we will use a bar line, and when the entire composition is over, we will use a double bar line. For the most part lately, we'll be working with 1 measure, 2 measure, and possibly even 4 measure exercises. But that's all for now. You can always come back to this video if you want to review these vocabulary, but they are here on your quarter note, and we'll be doing some more with notation tomorrow, as well as seeing the Star Spangled Banner videos. So tomorrow is your first grade in this class. Today, soak up the vocab, review as much as you need to keep these familiar, because you'll see them all again soon. Have a good rest of your day. Bye!